of the Republic of Korea to Nigeria. All right, I understand he's not here. He's joining us virtually. Thank you. And glad to have you all join us for this session. Over the past decades, MICTA nations, Mexico, Indonesia, the Republic of Korea, Turkey, and Australia have demonstrated remarkable success in transitioning from resource-dependent or agrarian economies to diversified, innovation-driven, and industrialized economies. And that is the lesson we are all in the room to learn from them. And I would start by, before I go to them, I will start by telling the entire hall to give yourselves a round of applause. This is because we have a full house. I believe the NESG has saved the best for the last. If we're ready, we'll take Mexico first.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. We are ready to present, to do this presentation, and I will give just a minute because it appears in the screen. Excellencies, distinguished participants, over the past few decades, Mexico has experienced a remarkable industrial transformation. I don't know if we can wait a little bit.
I think we can wait a bit for the technical team to get your slides ready.
It's coming. Now, it's here. Perfect.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Because what I am intending to do is to see the screen instead of pay attention to what I am saying. So our GDP has grown from $553 billion in 1994 to 1.85 trillion in 2024. Last year, our total trade reached $1.2 trillion. All the figures I will mention today are in US dollars, covering the period from 1994 to 2024. During this time, exports to our NAFTA, now USMCA partners, expanded from 53 billion to 531 billion, while imports rose from 56 billion to 274 billion. When NAFTA came into force in 1994, tariffs on most goods traded among Mexico, the US, and Canada were eliminated. This gave Mexican producers access to the largest consumer market in the world and offered investors the confidence to expand and build in Mexico. Before NAFTA, our automotive industry was inward-looking. Trade liberalization changed that completely. Global car makers, GM, Ford, Volkswagen, Nissan, Toyota, and Honda expanded their footprint, turning Mexico into one of the world's top exporters of vehicles and auto parts. Vehicle exports rose from $4 billion to $146 billion, while imports increased from $2 billion to $28 billion. In electronics, Mexico became a global leader among the top tool exporters of video display units and a major supplier of semiconductors, computers, and telecom equipment to the US. Exports in the sector grew from 30 billion to 97 billion, while imports reached almost 29 billion. In aerospace, firms like Bombardier, Safran, and Honeywell established operations, especially in Querétaro. Today, Mexico ranks as the 12th largest exporter of aerospace components worldwide. Equally transformative was the rise of just-in-time supply chains, where components cross borders several times before final assembly. This reduced costs, improved efficiency, and placed Mexico at the heart of North America's production ecosystem. NAFTA also introduced solid rules on investment protection, intellectual property, and dispute resolution, giving long-term confidence to investors. Its successor, the USMCA, now drives higher value production and innovation through stricter rules of origin and modern digital trade standards. Mexico's industrial strength also comes from special economic zones, manufacturing parks, and industrial clusters. Special zones attack areas through tax incentives and infrastructure support. While results were mixed, new initiatives like Interoceanic Corridor of the Isthmus of Tehuantepec are connecting the Pacific and Gulf coasts, transforming southern Mexico in a new growth pole. Manufacturing parks allowing tariff-free imports of components for re-export now support over 80% of Mexico's manufacturing exports. Located mainly along the U.S. border, they attract firms in electronics, automotive, and medical devices. Regionally, progress has been diverse. In the north, Baja California, Nuevo León, and Chihuahua build strong aerospace and electronic clusters. The proximity to the U.S. skilled labor and logistics infrastructure make them ideal suppliers to North American markets. In the Bajío region, Guanajuato, Querétaro, San Luis Potosí, and Aguascalientes, an automotive powerhouse has emerged. Global firms operate large plants there, including Nissan's largest complex in Latin America. A dense network of suppliers supports the production of over 500,000 vehicles per year. In Aguascalientes alone, the automotive sector represents more than 70% of total exports. Querétaro and Baja California are key aerospace hubs, while Guadalajara, Jalisco, has become Mexico's tech hub, attracting major IT and software companies. These regional dynamics reflect the central role of foreign direct investment. FDI expanded from about $11 billion in 1993 to nearly $44 billion in 2024, averaging $30 billion annually for the past 25 years. This investment has integrated Mexico into global value chains and confirmed its position as a strategic industrial hub in North America. Mexico's productivity growth stems from coherent policies that foster higher value-added activities. Trade liberalization created certainty for investors. Besides USMCA, Mexico has signed 14 free trade agreements covering more than 50 countries, giving one of the widest trade networks in the world. The IMEX program now integrates automation, Industry 4.0, and sustainability, preparing our industries for the next industrial era. Complementary tools such as PROSEC and PRODIAT provide fiscal incentives for sectors like aerospace, semiconductors, and renewable energy. They help local suppliers move beyond assembly toward design, engineering, and innovation. Equally vital is human capital. Technical education and dual vocational programs developed with industry ensure that the skills meet production needs. Investments in logistics corridors and infrastructure are also reducing trade friction and supporting nearshoring. At the same time, renewable energy projects are lowering costs and strengthening our competitiveness. Let me now share a few best practices that may resonate with Nigeria as it advances its industrial goals under the African Continental Free Trade Area. Design long-term industrial policies backed by strong institutions and legal predictability. FCFTA with a dual strategy, quick operation, structural reforms, build supply chain linkages between anchor investors and local suppliers, tie investment initiatives to clear performance in value addition, jobs and technology transfer, co-design vocational programs with industry to build the right skills for modern manufacturing, simplify logistics through fast lanes, pre-arrival processing, and bonded systems, and above all, ensure reliable and affordable energy, a fundamental condition for industrial growth. Ladies and gentlemen, Mexico's experience shows that successful industrial transformation depends on trade agreements, regional clusters, supportive policies, and continuous investment in human capital. Each country's path is unique, yet adapting some of these best practices could help Nigeria seize the opportunities offered by AFCFTA and accelerate its own export-oriented industrialization. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful presentation. And we're going to move straight because the presentation from Korea, and that is Mr. Tak. You can take it away.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Republic of Korea, this year's NICTA chair, I bring warm greetings and deep respect for the NESG's leadership in hosting today's NICTA session. NICTA brings together 5 diverse countries with a common goal: to exchange practical solutions for global challenges. What unites us is our experiences. Nations that have risen through adversity, chosen cooperation over isolation, and worked to get towards sustainable, inclusive development. We believe NICTA's collective journey holds lessons for mutual learning with Nigeria. Just 7 years ago, Korea was one of the poorest countries in the world. Our GDP per capita was only $70. We had few natural resources, but a clear national purpose. Through national planning, investment in education, industrial policy, and social mobilization, Korea transformed into a high-income, innovation-driven economy. This transformation wasn't led by government alone. It required a broad coalition, entrepreneurs, civil society, and global partners working together under a shared vision. At the heart of our growth were local businesses, investing heavily in innovation and taking risks on the global stage. The government's export-oriented industrial policies supported them with strong incentives. It helped firms becoming global leaders in automobiles, shipbuilding, high-speed trains, electronics, and semiconductors. We don't suggest Korea's model can be copied exactly, but we believe its principles behind it, investing in people, committing to institutions, and thinking long-term are widely relevant. Today in Nigeria, Korean companies are proud to carry forward these lessons. Companies like Hyundai, Daewoo ENC, Samsung, and LG are not just executing contracts. They're investing in local capacity, creating jobs, and sharing knowledge. From refinery repairs and LNG projects to major construction works, they train engineers, employ thousands, and strengthen supply chains. For example, Daewoo ENC has fewer than 400 Koreans on site, but it employs over 13,000 Nigerians, more than 30 times that number. It also trains local workers in welding and Korean business practices. Samsung Heavy Industries did the same. During the 2019 Agena project, it hired over 3,000 Nigerians, more than 500 receiving welding training, with over 100 earning international certification. For them, local employment is not a side effect. It is a strategic priority. As Nigeria continues its economic transformation, partnership will be the key, especially partnerships that build a virtuous cycle of investment, growth, and trust. To this end, we hope to see further strengthening of Nigeria's legal and regulatory frameworks. One example is the dual taxation avoidance agreement between Korea and Nigeria, signed in 2006 but still awaiting ratification. Finalizing it would send a strong signal that Nigeria is open for responsible, long-term, and mutually beneficial investments. We recognize Nigeria's efforts to diversify its economy, industrialize, and unlock the potential of its youth. As Africa's largest economy and most populous nation, Nigeria plays a vital role in shaping the continent's future. With the African Continental Free Trade Area now underway, Nigeria has the potential to become a true regional hub, and Korean companies are eager to be part of that journey. We support this not only through investments, but also through vocational training, energy access, digital technology, and development assistance with help from KOICA, as well as Korea's own development model, Namgung. I'm confident that all other Victor ambassadors here today are equally committed to leading the way. Let me conclude by noting that Korea's partnership with Nigeria now spans 45 years. It is based on shared ambition and mutual respect. Let us work together, public and private sectors, international and local actors, to build an economic relationship rooted in mutual respect, clear rules, and shared benefits. I hope today's roundtable helps us plant the seeds for something enduring, not only for our economies, but for our people. Thank you.
We're going next to a very interesting country. I call it interesting because for those who follow social media conversations, the only thing most Nigerians will say they know, or I say the younger generations know about Australia, is the massive reptiles and of course the love for animals, but it is way beyond that now. And so we come to the serious one, and I'm inviting the High Commissioner of Australia to Nigeria, Ms. Leila, to give her presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Moderator. I apologize for my voice this morning because I woke up and my voice was a little husky. So what people may think is I may have been out dancing and singing last night. I can assure you it was not the case.
That makes the both of us, right?
Thank you.
Okay.
I just wanted to firstly stand on existing protocols and also thank the NESG team for creating the opportunity for MICTA countries to join you today. And just echoing what Foreign Minister, the Honourable Minister Tugar, and your plenary discussions today talked about, which was policy and regulation. So I'm delighted to continue on this line of thinking because that is our focus. The presentation looks at policy certainty and rule-based trade. These underpin Australia's prosperity. So Australia's approach is that we are using our own comparative advantages in mining and in digital services. Two sectors, Nigeria has two. I will share two Australian experiences today. Firstly, how has Australia used our natural resources to underpin our long-term economic growth? And secondly, what is one key ingredient Australia has used to diversify beyond resources? For this, we will look at our digital economy. Australia's mining dominance is well known. We export more than half the world's iron ore, 54.5% in 2024. We export more than half the world's lithium, 50% in 2024. And we export many other mineral resources in both raw and semi-processed form. Revenue in our mining sector is over USD $300 billion per year. That's more than Nigeria's annual GDP. As we heard on Monday, the GDP for Nigeria was USD 246 billion last year. So how has Australia done this? The secret is stable policy and open markets. Two key ingredients: policy certainty that lowers investor risk, and open markets that create investor opportunity. Mining is a long game. For many minerals, you need to put in enormous capital up front before seeing any returns, often 5 or 10 years later. This makes it high risk. Australia has been able to reduce this risk by creating a regulatory environment where investors know the rules of the game 10 years in advance. Investors have secure land rights and safe infrastructure investment opportunities. I say safe because infrastructure may not always already exist. We have a lot of empty space in Australia. But the regulatory environment allows investors to price in the cost of building this infrastructure into the overall project. And the second piece of the puzzle, Australia creates off-take opportunities via open markets. Aside from the WTO, like Mexico, we have 18 free trade agreements that enable rules-based investment and trade in goods and services. This turbocharges inbound foreign direct investment, essential to create and expand new projects, and integrates Australian resources into global supply chains. In summary, lowering investor risk by creating regulatory certainty and opening investor opportunities by lowering barriers to trade are two key elements behind Australia's minerals success. While mining is what we are famous for, Australia is also very good at digital services. Perhaps some of you have heard of these companies, like Canva, an Australian tech unicorn that started in Sydney in 2013. Canva, with 220 million users, is one of the world's largest graphic design applications. And may I also say, in the plenary discussion beforehand, the CEO of Flutterwave, I actually know about Flutterwave as one of your digital services providers, so this is fantastic. Australia has been able to compete in global tech because our highly skilled workforce could prosper from clear rules and open trade in the global digital economy. Nigeria has these highly skilled tech wizards too. Lagos is already the tech hub of Africa, home to Africa's largest technology unicorns. Canva could expand to overseas markets because there are currently very low digital barriers to trade. But technology is changing fast, and clear and open digital trade rules are not guaranteed. Customs duties and non-tariff barriers to digital trade would handicap Australian businesses, preventing them from competing equally on global markets. The same would be true for Nigerian businesses. To safeguard these rules and to safeguard open, seamless digital trade, Australia has co-sponsored the Joint Initiative Statement on E-commerce, a plurilateral trade agreement at the World Trade Organization. 71 countries have joined us. Nigeria is already the digital trade champion in Africa and a champion to the AFCFTA, Digital Trade Protocol, that establishes regional digital trade rules. But why limit Nigeria to Africa? The Global E-commerce Agreement would add global legal certainty for African businesses engaging in international e-commerce globally. It would ensure Nigerian unicorns continue to reach global audiences and global markets unhindered. To conclude, Australian mining was successful because policy certainty lowered investor risks, while our network of free trade deals and open markets created investor opportunities. In the new and evolving digital services sector, Australia is trying to create consistent and fair international rules to ensure faster, cheaper, and more secure digital trade. This, in turn, ensures our businesses can fairly compete and succeed across the globe. Mining can diversify Nigeria beyond oil. E-commerce can take Nigeria beyond resources. Australia does both, and we believe the same can be for Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, High Commissioner, for that beautiful presentation. And we'll move, because time is not on our side, we'll go straight up to the very next one, and that'll be from Ms. Alif Dudu, Deputy Head of Mission of the Turkey Embassy to Nigeria.
Thank you, Ms. Coordinator. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a true pleasure to be here today representing Turkey under MIKTA framework. Today, I would like to share some of Turkey's economic transformation experiences, not as a model, but as a set of reflections that may resonate with Nigeria's own dynamic path. In particular, we'll explore 3 shared priorities that both countries are actively working on. 1, building large domestic markets in and around the country and trade ties. 2, promoting regional development policies. And 3, supporting SMEs and vocational training. These are not just theoretical issues, they are the building blocks of inclusive and sustainable growth. As we exchange views today, I believe that we will discover that our countries, despite being on different continents, face similar challenges and perhaps complementary strengths. Let's begin with what we have in common. Turkey and Nigeria may be geographically distant, but structurally we have striking similarities. Both are large, vibrant economies with growing and youthful populations. Turkey has over 85 million population and Nigeria more than 230 million. Youth, those aged between 15 and 24, represent about 15% of Turkey's population and nearly 20% in Nigeria. This is not just a demographic figure, it's also a powerful development asset. If we can equip our youth with the right skill and opportunities, they become not just participants, but drivers of economic growth and innovation. In Turkey, rising household incomes, strong domestic demand, and expanding middle class have all contributed to the country's resilience. Nigeria, with its scale and entrepreneurial spirit, holds similar potential for dynamic, demand-driven growth. One of the most transformative steps in Turkey's journey was deepening its regional and global market access. Since entering the EU Customs Union in 1995, Turkey has significantly expanded its industrial exports. This integration didn't just open trade routes, it modernized productions, logistics, and customs systems, and encouraged private sector competitiveness. In addition to that, Turkey has signed 24 free trade agreements with partners across Europe, the Middle East, Asia, and Latin America. These agreements help Turkey diversify its export portfolio, gain new markets, and strengthen its position as a regional production hub and become a bridge between East and West. This experience has shown us that market access, when combined with internal reforms and logistic investments, can rapidly transform industrial capacity. Nigeria's leadership within ECOWAS and its growing role under the AFCFTA carry a similar potential. Free movement of goods and people in West Africa is not just a policy objective, it's the foundation for regional prosperity and collective industrialization. What Turkey learned is that integration must be supported by infrastructure and institutional coherence, which means customs modernization, transport corridors, digital trade platforms, and predictable investment frameworks. Turkey is geographically a centralized country, yet its development path has shown us that growth must be decentralized to be sustainable. That's why, in the early 2000s, Turkey established 26 regional development agencies designed to tailor support to each region's strengths, whether in agriculture, tourism, industry, or innovation. These agencies fostered local entrepreneurship, help attract investments, and strengthen coordination between local and national institutions. We realize that the key lesson here is that development works best when the people feel ownership, when local actors lead and design their own growth models. In Nigeria, promising initiatives already exist. The Niger Delta Development Commission, state-level investment promotion agencies, and regional economic councils, an even more coordinated RDA-style framework adapted to Nigeria's federal structure could further amplify these efforts. Both Turkey and Nigeria are proving that inclusive development begins not in capitals, but in regions where people live, produce, and innovate. This is a map of Turkey's 26 regional development agencies designed for those regions' needs. Now, SMEs are the backbone of Turkey's economy. They make up 99% of all enterprises and employ nearly 3/4 of the national workforce. Through targeted programs such as COSGAP for entrepreneurship and MEGIP for vocational education, Turkey linked business needs directly with education, training, and financing. This helped SMEs grow not only in size, but also in productivity and innovation capacity. What Turkey realized is that financial support is important, but not sufficient on its own. SMEs need skilled workers, digital tools, network, and mentoring. This is where the vocational training becomes a bridge between education and the real economy. Nigeria's SME ecosystem is already vibrant, contributing nearly 50% of GDP and employing millions. Programs such as SMEDN, Empower, and state-led innovation hubs are making valuable progress for all. By deepening collaboration between businesses, training institutions, and regional authorities, both Turkey and Nigeria can build stronger, future-ready SMEs. To conclude, Turkey's economic transformation journey is continuing, one defined by reform, partnership, and adaptability. We made progress, but we also continue to learn, revise, and build on experience. Nigeria, with its scale, human capital, and position in Africa, is on an equally promising path. Our two countries have different stories, but we share the same aspirations: to create decent jobs, empower youth, and lead regionally through cooperation and openness. As MICTA partners, we have much to learn from one another and even more to achieve together. Thank you for the opportunity to share Turkey's journey and learn from yours.
Thank you, Ms. Salih, for your wonderful insights and adding color to this conversation. And we're going to move next to Indonesia, and Mr. Albert Perdi is ready with that presentation. And for emphasis' sake, Indonesia is also a very diverse population like Nigeria. So we would love to hear how you did it.
Thank you, Leah, for having me here. Good afternoon, everyone. Since I'm the last speaker here, I hope my presentation will not bore to you, but instead it inspire as a reflections. I think harnessing our similarities, that's what I'm trying to present today. Next. If you see that geographically, Indonesia stretch almost 5,245 kilometers. Is stretched from the west side. It's in Sahara to Somalia. It's a huge, island actually. Next, just make it quick. Second slide, please.
Next slide, please.
We are very blessed that Indonesia located in Southeast Asia, because Indonesia located very strategically locations between Indian Oceans and also Pacific Oceans, and at the north side, of course, close to the Asia countries, and also from the south to Australia continents. We are a population with 286 million people. It's almost the same like Nigeria, 230. And we have 38 provinces, and not to mention our ethnic group, more than 1,000 ethnic, 700 languages. So you can imagine that if Nigeria is just one piece of lands, we are 17,000 islands to cover Indonesia. How big challenge, to unite these kind of Indonesians. Next. These are the main products that generated our economy actually so far. So that's why we're entering to the G20 countries, 1.4 trillion US dollar. Because at the first time, of course, these are products, minerals, animal vegetables, iron, steels, electric, machinery and equipment that our industry generate that, and also we also export vehicle and spare parts. We have a lot of Nigeria business people coming to Indonesia. Next 15 to 19 October, we have Indonesian Trade Expo. It's 150 people are confirmed coming to Indonesia, and we're still processing the visa right now. So that's our very close, business relation right now. It's a very, very, very good. Not to mention also Indonesia located in ASEAN region, so 10 grouping countries with the populations of more than 700 million. It's a huge market also for the Nigerian company if you want to go there. And also with the GDP about almost 4 trillion US. So that's a little bit demographically what we have. Economically, we are in the past 1 decade, we are stable to 5 to 6% yearly. With the GDP per capita, it's almost 5,000 right now. Okay, next. This is the very important critical situation path that we are trying to transform our economy. Because start in 1970s, I think it's almost the same like some of the African countries like Nigeria. We are depending from natural resources, exporting that. You know, not to mention, we also have a lot of natural resources, minerals, and also oil at the time, in 1970s, 80s. But since then, when the global economic changed, the price of oil becoming, you know, fluctuations, and then the government tried to shift it from depending on natural resources, that we are trying to establish industrializations of our companies, I mean, all the industries that we have. So that's Indonesia. Actually, the government shifted and focused to downstream natural resources, banning raw mineral export and building smelters, for example, for nickels, bauxites, and copper. And that's the milestone that we are now at the present, 2024, 2025. We are becoming one of exporters for the manufactured products. Next. This is also some of our experience when in 1980s, we banned also timber when we cut it and we exported, you know, a raw for the woods. Then we are trying to make added value to change from the very raw material for just only a log. Then we try to establish our industry for furniture, meubles, everything. It's not just only raw material, but it will be added value products that we change. Also, we have some regulation that we ban right now export for nickel productions. In order, we try to establish our new industries, especially for smelters, to generate more industrialized manufacturers. And in 2070s, the emergence of Indonesia's first stainless steel industry, aluminium smelters, it is a very good step actually, and it also giving us the inspire in order we will use any kind of very potential product to change from the raw to added value. But right now we have manufacturers for cars, for example, many Japanese, Koreans, some of other industrial cars located in Indonesia, you know, to be manufactured to Indonesia. And not to mention also electronic and some also products of IT. Next. This is also what we're facing at the late 90s and 2008 and also 2020. It's a very tough crisis that we face. I think the last one, COVID situation, it will downturn our, economy right at the time. So that's why by these challenges, by these situations, this is becoming our inspired how the economic resilience try to change, reform in order we can cope the situation and the crisis which happened at the time. Next. Next. Okay. Also, as a part of the government we represent from the embassy, our policy also try to reduce the, what we call it, poverty, reduce. So Indonesia actually successfully reduced its poverty rate from 15.9% in 2005 to 9.22% in 2019, and the open unemployment rate also declined from 11.2 in 2005 to 5.33 in 2019. This is a very important effort from the government, how we can obtain and maintain for the poverty rates. Next. And now also over the past 10 years, Indonesia made a remarkable progress in infrastructure development as a key driver of national growth and also regional connectivity. Massive investment have been directed toward enhancing transportation networks, electricity access, information and communication technology, and water resources. So right now, the last 10 years, our government tried to use national budget to build the infrastructures, to build support, especially for the toll road, for example, power plant, airports, and other infrastructures, because by generate this kind of part of important to generate our manufacturers becoming more and more better. Next. Indonesia also has the next 2045, what we call its Indonesian vision for Golden Indonesia. Also, I heard that your forum also have the same visions for 2030 for 1 trillion income GDP. So this is what we have actually for the next 25 years ahead towards our 100th Independence Day. Our vision is to articulate it the national long term in order we can achieve golden generations, a golden Indonesia that also, next. This is the target actually when we entering our 100th Independence Day, that our goals is try to achieve for example, the per capita is 30,000, and also poverty rate we will reduce to 0.5 to 0.8%, and also global power index to top 15, and human capital index 0.73, and also GSG reduction intensity to 93.5%. We feel confidence for that. I hope there's no any other crisis again, that we can achieve, and we are determined to achieve for that. Next. This is also very important, as my colleague also described, our big bone to support our economic since 1970s until right now. We are rely on the SMEs. We start from, a micro and a small and medium companies, but right now we have, for example, we have already built our airplane, CN, like CASA type. We are exporting in some other countries, not to mention also locomotive in railways. And also, some of the products. I heard that from the previous speakers that mentioned about the Indomie. Just to confirm that Indomie is from Indonesia actually, and we have the factory in Lagos. So I'm very surprised that you guys, you love your family, eat noodles, because we have also 2 companies that has been established so far, and it very good challenge to start the business since 90s. So now they are, empower and also recruit almost, I think it's about more than 2,000 workers right now. So that's kind of investment. Not only that, we also have the pharmaceutical product. If you heard like Kalbe Pharma, and also Dexa is also from Indonesia. They are in Lagos. They have a Boxka products name, and also Procol. It's very popular products. in Indonesia. Not to mention also detergents products, consume so many in the supermarket right now. So these are some of companies that generate and support our industry right now from SMEs. Next. Now I enter almost the last slide actually. This is the key how we generate our industry. So vocational as a strategic tools to power industrialization job creations. As I said to you, we are 286 million people, and 60% of them are young generations. Hopefully in the next 10 years, we will get the average for training manpower in order to fill the industrial sectors to generate more economic, and hopefully it can also bring more, opportunity to reduce the poverty in Indonesia, and also to give more jobs to young people in Indonesia. And the last slide, please. As I said to you, Indonesia and Nigeria almost have the same, demographically and also some economic situation right now. Harnessing similarity, I think we should have a confidence to determine our economic, to drive our, industry. Start from the SMEs, a small micro, but with the diversity and reform also the policies to generate and to give incentive for the private sector. I think this is the key how we can facing for the next couple of years to ahead. Thank you very much. I give it.
Thank you, and I'm going to hold you on that because we're going to go straight into the question and answer segment, and it's going to be rapid fire because the time is not against us as we've identified earlier. But basically, as you've also pointed out, we have the same scenario, Nigeria and Indonesia. I'm going to hold you on that line of thought. How did you surmount your differences and to build your economy? Yes.
Okay, thank you, Leah. As I present to you so many crises, economic crises that try to challenge us, not to feel that even though at the time our economy is not in very good shape, but in how we try to reform actually, and a big commitment from the government in trying to accelerate more, very talented people in Indonesia, and also try to build a very good infrastructures and incentive to all these entrepreneurs. It also can try to boost these people, that they feel, I would say like nationality, to see how they can do that and how they try to, to bring more incentive for economic with their involvement, especially in the private sector. But the government tried to accommodate and facilitate not only financially, but also the environment. This is very important. Of course, Indonesia at the cross of area that I said to you, we are located, close to some other big players like China, Japan, Korea, and also Australia. That's kind of cooperation that has been established, especially in ASEAN countries. It can also inspire us how we can try to make innovation and try to creativity to create a job, to create a new environment, to try to empower and also to shift from the very traditional way, but with transferring technology and also educated people, it can be entered to change that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Your Excellency, Ms. Leila, I would like to also ask you this question. Your country, Australia, has been able to do so much with manufacturing as well as mining, and so I will take you on mining because here I don't think we're doing so much in that regard. So what is that one lesson for Nigeria regarding mining? And number two, what is in one sentence that lesson for Nigeria when we're talking about having in the back of your mind that there are long-term investments, you can't do it shortcut?
Thank you for the question. Okay, let me start with mining, what is really required. And as I mentioned in my presentation, it's a long game. So as we've heard over the course of the last three days, Nigeria has much potential in many industries, including the mining sector. What is needed, Will, your mining ministry here and the Minister for Mines has been working very hard in ensuring that there are strong regulatory frameworks coming into place for companies who want to invest in Nigeria, and we do have quite a number across internationally who are looking at Nigeria because of its potential. There is a couple of key issues. One is strong land security and tenure. Policy frameworks, as I had mentioned, having very strong policies that set out guidelines for how business can be conducted in Nigeria successfully. And of course, having a very strong regulatory framework so that compliance can be, complied with, but also companies then know exactly what is required of them coming into Nigeria. So that's probably it in a nutshell in terms of what would be required for mining companies, certainly from Australia's perspective. And then your second point, second question, what's the one take home that I would say? And again, today's presentations, including this morning with Foreign Minister, Minister Tugar, was all about policies, making sure that you have robust policies that are in place across all the different sectors, because diversifying one's economy provides then opportunities for different open markets. You know, as Nigeria has one really big element in its favor, and that's its youth population. You know, and in the next 5 to 10 years, these young people need to find some level of a job, employment. We've already heard about the digital services sector and how the digital economy is taking off. I have to commend the Nigerian entrepreneurial spirit, because almost everyone in Nigeria has all these other businesses that they work to, not only their main job, but several others. So I think in terms of moving forward and looking ahead, Nigeria's economy is stable and steady, as our president has discussed on Monday. So that's a very good signal to investors. Having confidence in the economy, confidence in business environment factors will bring investors to Nigeria.
Thank you. Your Excellency Alfredo, I will take this one with you, and it's about manufacturing. You've been able to do that much, and so what will be that manufacturing and trade lesson that you think Nigeria can take away from you, just in one sentence?
Thank you, Leah. First of all, allow me to thank Nigerian Economic Summit Group for this invitation, not only to Mexico, to MICTA. MICTA, integrated with Mexico, Indonesia, Korea, Turkey, and Australia, like-minded countries who are sharing experience. With the aim to share knowledge. We are not a group, we are just countries who have developed exactly the same level, and we are trying to share what we are doing. So each country has its own experience and its own development. It's quite different to copy and paste any experiences. In international cooperation for development is quite different, but we can see is how other countries have developed their own experience. In the case of Mexico, 3 decades ago, started the negotiations for the NAFTA, and people were really afraid to get into this market, huge market with the U.S. At the end of the story, we can say that has been a successful story, and what is the most important for Nigeria is to think that the Continental Free Trade Agreement is a big opportunity to get in, not only there, if it can be expanded more legal framework and agreements in order to have access to FTA will be best. How to do in manufacturing for Nigeria? So what is the most important is to attract the anchor investors and to work with the supplier market. This is important. It's not only because Nigeria has the capacity to export raw materials that is going to grow, it's because Nigeria has the capacity to attract with a legal framework, with a security for the investors, and also to adapt locally what could be the investment.
Thank you. I'll take the last intervention from Ms. Salif, and it will be from Turkey. What is that one interesting lesson we can get, especially when it comes to SMEs that Nigeria can adopt?
Thank you for your question. Well, with the SMEs, Nigeria has already established too much, and in Turkey, SMEs are supported not in finance, but also with vocational training, grants, and scholarship. There is cooperation between private sector and the government. Also, there are vocational schools that's in place for young people who are not attending, let's say, normal, usual high school, but they are getting an education in that specific sector or area that they choose, which help SMEs grow. Because when we are talking about SMEs, it's not just the numbers that we are talking about. Actually, when we talk about it, it's actually about the production and sustainability, and for that we need to have medium and long-term plans to have them become sustainable. And with Nigeria, as I mentioned in my speech, almost 50% of the GDP comes from SMEs, and I believe that with the federal structure within Nigeria, it can be much easier to develop certain vocational training programs, grant scholarships and all in different areas of cooperation, which would be helpful in the long term and medium term, of course.
Yeah, because we need to translate those SMEs to the size to actual revenue and income.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, I must sincerely thank you for making time for this conversation. I have been speaking with the wonderful MICTA team, His Excellency Alfredo Miranda Ortiz, from Mexico, and of course Her Excellency Ms. Leila, thank you. And also I've also had Ms. Alif Dudu from Turkey, Mr. Tak Namgung joined us virtually, and Mr. Albert from Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you, Leila.
The chairman will join you for a quick photograph. Sincere appreciation to Madam Moderator as well. Thank you for steering the conversation and enjoying that we made the most of it. And he's coming up on stage, Mr. Chairman, I mean, with the Minister for Finance and Coordinating Minister for the Economy. Thank you. Welcome, sir. Mr. Wale Edun. Thank you for joining us up on stage. Thank you for sharing insights from MICTA that Nigeria can take dressing from, can copy and paste, but copyright, adapt, adopt, and ensure that we take to the next level, because there's nothing wrong with copying as long as we're copying the right thing and making sure we localize to suit us. If this was an enlightening conversation, please once again appreciate all our panelists. Thank you so much. I would like to recognize the presence of a very dear friend of the NESG who has not missed a summit since she arrived in Nigeria. I refer to Her Excellency Embajadora Miriam Morales, Ambassador of Colombia to Nigeria. We say thank you for honoring us again with your presence.
All right, you're watching the day 3 of the NESG conference, and focus on the economy, transformation of MICTA countries. And talking about MICTA countries, and talking about Mexico, Indonesia, Republic of Korea, Australia, and Turkey. And we've gotten, views from panelists, from representatives of these countries. They've talked about what Nigeria can do to further, transform its economy, and not just about copying and pasting what they have done so far, but copying correctly or doing using the right steps to, further develop the economy of Nigeria. And the session lasted with series of takes from these representatives, and questions, of course, were asked as we also look forward to, a robust economy, and of course, economic experiences that have been shared by representatives of these countries. You're still watching News Central TV, and of course, ongoing is the NESG conference.
I knew I shouldn't have touched it, but I did. So, unless I'm going to wing it, I need help. Thank you very much to Ms. Soyade Okoli, Special Advisor to Mr. President on Finance and the Economy.
Thank you very much. My bad. There's supposed to be one call before his, and so we'll correct it immediately. Thank you so much, sir, for your kind cooperation. There's one more charge just before he comes up to speak to us, and that charge is by our founding father, second chairman of the NESG and current chair of the advisory board of the NESG. Please, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, join me receive Alhaji Mohammed Hayatu-Deen as he comes forward for his charge before we welcome back our coordinating minister. Thank you so much. Morning. Thank you so much, sir.
I hope I don't need some help, just like you did. My dear friend, brother and colleague and collaborator of 40 years, Prince Wale Edun, the Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, the Chairman of the NESG, members of the Diplomatic Corps, ladies and gentlemen. Over the last 3 days, I think by popular acclaim, we can say that we have had a very good run. We have seen fascinating conversations about the health and vitality of our socio-economic ecosystem. There has been such a profound and rewarding engagement with our stakeholders, especially those in the public sector. We have seen principal officers of government come here and provide very important inputs. I think we can safely conclude that we now have substantial clarity on the programs of this administration relative to our current position and the future trajectory towards transformation of this country. Having listened and interacted with high government officials, I can say with some measure of cautious optimism that we can say that the future looks bright. Underlying it all is the foundational point of inclusivity, which I think is the central theme of this particular summit. The reforms, although necessary, still fall short in the distribution of benefits and burdens. Government officers themselves have actually made reference to this point. So this summit, I would say, has dedicated all its efforts towards mobilizing various critical stakeholders to dig deeper into the conversation of inclusive growth. Before I go any further, I would like to pay special tribute to the founding fathers of this summit, especially our very senior statesmen who have departed us, beginning with Chief Ernest Shonakan, Dick Kramer, and more recently, this year, Dr. Pascal Dozier, who was the founding chairman of the Economic Summit. So it is therefore important that because we are here talking about change and transformation, it is critical to actually say that this is a process that did not begin today or yesterday. It's important always, especially for the benefit of the younger ones in this room and those who will be coming up after them, that we actually remember where we're coming from. This journey actually started 31 years ago. What motivated us was the fact that just like now, the country was at a very vital inflection point in 1991. You would not believe it, you can complain about interest rates and exchange rates today, but in 1991, the economy was actually in a complete free fall. You remember? And interest rates and exchange rates were going through the roof. There was acute scarcity of goods. Certain members of the organized private sector were very deeply and profoundly concerned about the state of our ecosystem. And therefore, we started organizing ourselves into very small groups. And we realized, profoundly concluding that the economy was actually at a state of implosion. So we decided, we also recognized that even within the private sector, there are very deep cleavages and divisions. And it was almost impossible to embrace labor and civil society, simply because everybody was actually operating within their own turf. There was no thread that was bringing all of us together. If you spoke to Adams Oshimule at the time about liberalization or privatization, he will take you and throw you out of the window instantly. The government captured the commanding heights of the economy at the time, and therefore it didn't see the wisdom of actually relinquishing or delegating economic power to the private sector. Long story short, over a period of time, we were able to gel, come together, and put together a community of like-minded people in order to bring about a common purpose and a common goal in terms of where we take this particular economy. And that was then what gave birth to the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. It was born sometime between 1991 and 1992 and assumed a semblance of formality over a period of time. Our mission was simple at the time, that one, we must all bury and completely bury our sectional interests and focus essentially on what is the national interest. Two, remember at the time, as some of the ambassadors here have spoken, we are going through a major seismic change around the world with globalization, privatization, deregulation, and liberalization. So our mission was then to promote sustainable long-term economic development by advocating the principles of a free market economy based on economic liberalization, deregulation, and privatization, while at the same time building an economy that was robust and very inclusive. So what then ended up happening was that we built golden bridges of collaboration amongst a broad spectrum of stakeholders in the public and private space, including international actors. This was 31 years ago. So the journey started. And I would like to break up this journey into a couple of segments. One, we built unity and purpose. It took us almost a year to be able to build that unity amongst all of us, both in the private sector and between the private sector, civil society, and government. We held each other with a lot of mutual suspicion and distrust before then. So that mission was accomplished. Between 1990 and 1993, there was quite a bit of liberalization under the Babangida administration. This covered media, aviation, banking, oil and gas, and extensive monetary policy reforms, especially partial foreign exchange reforms. We all remember the first tier and second tier foreign exchange market reforms at the time. 1994 was a big bang, 94-95. Because General Gowan was prosecuting the Civil War, he needed to put in place an Exchange Control Act that restricted the full movement of capital in and outside this country at the time. In 94, and this is habitual, once bureaucrats come up with new laws, it may take you 50 years, 100 years to actually dismantle them. The war was finished in 70. It took us 24 years to actually repeal the Exchange Control Act of 1961. Second was also the Nigerian Enterprise Promotion Act. You remember, Honorable Minister, that more or less categorized the Nigerian enterprises into where foreigners can intervene and Nigerians could intervene. It restricted a lot of foreign investment. This was also dismantled in 1994. Now, all of these things happened under the motivation and inspiration of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, because we were hands in glove with the federal government. But more importantly, under the promotion and supervision of the NESG, we then came up with the Vision 2010 program, which was the first time in the history of this country that we charted a long-term strategic direction for this country. And that document is still alive. It has since been improved upon through a number of other vision programs. Then, under the Obasanjo administration, between 1997 and 2007, we had all the big banks, if you like. Extensive privatization of the banking industry, where whatever remaining stakes remain in the public domain were actually sold off to the private sector. The downstream oil and gas, the first time ever that we were able to then auction a number of oil blocks. The pension reforms, extensive liberalization of the telecom sector, and we started then auctioning the GSM licenses at that time. The Financial Action Task Force, et cetera, major capital market reforms were embarked upon. The net results of all of these changes was to bring about an environment that was conducive for Nigeria to actually get substantial debt relief from both the Paris and the London clubs. And Nigeria's balance sheet became sanitized, sterilized, and therefore we were able to begin on a new footing at the time. 2007 to 2015, we saw further deregulation in downstream petroleum activities, and we also saw major budgeting reforms that led to the establishment of the TSA and the IPIIS. So a number of technology-enabled platforms were introduced. 2015 to 2023, that mind-boggling problem of the oil and gas industry, several attempts to bring about a Petroleum Industry Act that was frustrated at least 10 times, to my knowledge. Finally, we were able to get a PIA recently. The LGO autonomy is critical and important. Youth inclusion in government has really been engendered, and then the deregulation of the power sector. So that journey from 1991 to date is powerful and remarkable. And I think we pay tribute to the various governments that went into collaboration with the Nigerian Economic Summit in order to make this possible. Changes and reform are very difficult propositions. It requires painstaking effort, it requires patience and perseverance. America is going to be 250 years old. It's still an experiment. Nigeria is 65 years old. And therefore, we need to renew our commitments afresh in order to ensure that we get along on that journey as quickly as possible. We are now, ladies and gentlemen, at a second very important inflection point. The new administration, since its inception, has been heavily focused on expanding the frontiers of market economy. It has embarked on a number of reforms that others have attempted but run away as quickly as their feet could carry them. Some of these reforms are mainly in relation to monetary and fiscal policy. It has put a goal in front of us that it wants to achieve a $1 trillion economy by the year 2030. These reforms contain a raft of measures, from exchange rate reforms, subsidy, tax reforms, electricity, etc., 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 petroleum sector, and so on and so forth. This is a tall order. It's an audacious and ambitious goal. And our view at the summit, I will be very frank with you, that it is attainable under certain essential conditions. One, we must continue to maintain a sound and stable macroeconomic environment, which must be consistently sustained throughout the planning horizon and beyond. We can't slacken up. Two, there is a need to consistently align short, medium, and long-term plans. They are all pretty much knit together. If you break that chain, it's going to have a domino effect throughout the rest of the chain. Three, and this is a big one, not just for the federal government, but for other tiers of government. The federal government should do everything in its power, and especially as the coordinating minister of the economy, difficult as it is, to rally along the troops at both the state and the local government levels. But more importantly, also carry civil society, the private sector, and the broader Nigerian public on this journey. We are all part and parcel of the same ecosystem. We all belong to this country and we own this country. Four, there is a need for strong, accountable, and transparent leadership. There is no alternative to this at all times. Five, we have to address the high cost of governance and revenue leakages. Some efforts are being made in this direction, especially with regards to revenue leakages, with the massive amount of innovations in technology being used as an enabler to manage these things. Six, there is then a need to generate high levels of productivity across various growth-enabling sectors, underpinned by measurable goals and targets. The Economic Summit is willing to lend its hand of collaboration to see how, looking at those particular sectors that are likely to be very productive and which will generate future growth, to then design goals, action plans, measurable targets and metrics on a year-by-year basis to see how these goals are going to be achieved. And like you have alluded yourself, and so many in this room, growth is absolutely meaningless. GDP is hollow unless and until everybody is included, i.e., a tide that will lift all boats. We would like to see a situation in which people in this country can actually enjoy a quality of life that is as high as any of the emerging markets, whether it is Turkey, Indonesia, Malaysia, or the UAE. It's critical. The next thing is that the different arms of government must work in harmony with checks and balances to ensure accountability and inspire confidence in the investment community. People are watching us in terms of what we do every day. Security is paramount, and I don't need to go into that. Millions of books have been published in this area, but without having a secure and safe environment, people cannot produce. And investors, local or domestic, cannot come to certain regions of the country. Judicial reforms that are actually aimed at guaranteeing the sanctity of contracts between parties is essential, and to also ensure that there is fair and quick dispensation of justice whenever there are disputes without fear or favor. All of this must rest on a very robust human capital and technology platforms as a major backbone. We heard the Minister of Communications say the other day that within a period of 3 years, he would actually like to have broadband coverage for all the 8,800 and whatever number of words. You know the number, I don't know. We also have to understand that we do not operate in isolation. We belong to a community of nations. And our foreign policy can only be as strong as our internal strength. And therefore, what we would like to advocate is the fact that our foreign missions should and must be adequately resourced through effective representation at all embassies. This is important because this is the quickest way to fast-tracking international trade and investment. Now, going forward, what are our dreams? Let me just say that one, I was born and bred in this country and went to school in this country. I think I have a bit of knowledge about my countrymen and women. Nigerians are among the most remarkable people on the face of this planet. The energy, the dynamism, the creativity, and empathy are incomparable anywhere in the world, I make bold to say. All you have to do is look at the data points in relation to Nigerians who are serving in public and private space and civil society space in many advanced countries around the world. They actually stay on top of their game. Aren't you proud to be Nigerians? The third thing is that we are richly endowed, almost as if we are spoiled children in terms of our factor endowments. A very strong heritage, unity in our diversity, abundant resources. Almost 90% of Japan is rock and water. Japan is the fourth largest economy on the face of this planet. It's the power of their brains. Necessity is the mother of invention, so to speak. And we have everything going for us. 787,000 kilometers of land. You drop a seed, it will germinate in many parts of this country. Abundant rainfall. People who are very capitalistic by nature, very ambitious, very driven, they just need to breathe. Give them room to breathe, and they will flourish. So given the right regulatory and business environment, our capitalism will flourish, and that we can actually shoot for the stars and achieve many of these lofty ambitions. To be able to do that, we need complete inclusivity. For us to work with unanimity, with harmony, as one team. And if we are all on one team as Nigerians, first and foremost, we can actually rally around the flag and do things that are unimaginable in this country. But these things are easy to say, very difficult to achieve. First of all, we need to onboard all these essential conditions for success. Second, it doesn't happen by accident. We can go to the mosque all we want, the church all we want, but God Almighty, according to our various religious persuasions, has said that you must stand up to be helped. No country has become great by just hoping along. You need to actually put in all you have into it day in, day out. So it has to be planned and deliberately executed, involving everyone, especially the youth. They must be made the core of this transition. And the Nigerian Economic Summit has become such a powerful conclave for effective dialogue in this respect. I must say that since I finished my 2 terms of office as chairman of the Economic Summit in 2007, if truth must be told, the summit has been taken to the stratosphere. When we were there, we were focused only at helicopter view, federal level. Today, the energy and dynamism that is being displayed by the chairman, the board of directors, and our incredible CEO in cascading these to all levels of society and getting state governments and local governments involved is just simply incredible. I would never have imagined at the time I handed over the baton. Congratulations to you guys. Finally, my dream is actually to see that Nigeria becomes one of the tigers of the emerging markets. And I would say the sooner the better. It can be done if we put all of our energy and effort behind it. We'd like to make certain, Honorable Minister, certain important commitments to you, the government, and the wider society. One, we'll ensure year-round dissemination and communication of all Green Book commitments to sustain national dialogue and accountability. That we promise you, we'll keep our promise. Two, we'll intensify research, engagement and capacity building with stakeholders to strengthen industry-labor relations and foster a more dynamic and resilient economy. Three, we'll support the mobilization and implementation of the Tax Reform Act, ensuring it translates into meaningful outcomes for citizens. AI is warning me. Ensuring it translates into meaningful outcomes for citizens and businesses alike. We'll create a performance scorecard to drive cohesion and measurable progress across both federal and subnational levels. And finally, we'll implement a proactive strategy to mobilize gender, youth, and disability inclusivity, working closely with our partners and stakeholders across all sectors to ensure no one is left behind. I would like to say that none of these things that we have done in the past would have been possible without international actors. The various embassies in the country, the multilateral institutions, the private financial institutions, the brain trusts around the world have all joined us to collaborate in order to achieve our goals over the last 31 years. Hopefully, it is our dream that in the next 15 years, Nigeria will tell a completely different story. And I thank you for your sacrifice, my dear friend. We feel like pulling you back, but I think the nation needs you more. Thank you very much.
The thing was called a closing charge. No better person than the chairman of the advisory board a man of multiple skills, banker, economist, project finance expert, administrator, elder statesman with over 40 years experience across multiple sectors. Can we put our hands together one more time? Sir, while I was watching you speak, you know my quiet prayer for you? I said, God, preserve this man for Nigeria. Thank you. So without much ado, let me welcome a man that I'm also saying the same prayer for, because he has to serve Nigeria very well. The Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister for the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun.
Thank you very much, and very good afternoon. I have the belt, I have the braces. So let me start by saying I am representing the Honourable Minister for Budget and Economic Planning, Senator Atiku Bagudu. I'm standing in for him. He's represented by the PAMSEC, but he has asked me to come along and at least be part of this clothing ceremony. Essay to Mr. President, when we talk about Malam Mohammed Hayatu-Deen, you heard it all from him. He was there at the beginning. He took us down memory lane. And in addition, he gave us a charge, a path to the future. Indeed, a veritable resource for Nigeria. Thank you very much. At this stage, let me just say the chair, the executives of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, all protocols duly observed. It is my pleasure, it is my honor to be here. And I did catch at the end, in particular, the slides from the representative that spoke on Indonesia. And you know, data matters. So there was a slide there, and it said that their toll road target in 2022 was 2,300 kilometers. Nigeria's target as of now, under PPP, under the Highway Development Management Initiative, is 5,300 kilometers. We have the private sector waiting in line to be given that opportunity. So that gives an indication of the pace at which we are starting to move and the opportunities. Heads of MDAs, members of the diplomatic corps, captains of industry, the room is full. And you know, I've been to one or two summits, and it's a fantastic achievement that we have the room full like this, full of young, vibrant people looking to still engage and be a part. I commend your determination, your resilience, and I can just say that I think you too have a sense that opportunities are unfolding in terms of a level playing field that gives opportunity to all. So colleagues, partners, over the last 3 days, we have done exactly what this summit is promised to do, forge consensus around the reforms under the pillars of reform, resilience, and of course, results. And the key result that I would focus on, yes, growth, but in particular, moving Nigerians out of poverty as a result of growth that creates jobs, that gives them incomes and reduces poverty. We have talked about strengthening institutions, building infrastructure, unlocking investment, advancing inclusion, and driving industrialization. And clearly, this has been a working summit aimed at 2030, aimed at $1 trillion economy. So what have we accomplished in our agenda? Day one did set the tone. The state of the national and state of the economy and the national development plans address. It was a strategic blueprint to head towards $1 trillion. The jobs and productivity report launch and the deep dives on global trade, subnational competitiveness, and smart growth. The digital leap, of course, which speaks to the metric of our young people and empowering them to be part of the ever-expanding digital opportunities, including AI. These conversations have given us a macro vision, the subnational engine, and the digital toolkit to execute. So day two, as you know, moved into industrialization, a coherent path forward, special sessions, public asset management, and that's where the issue of what can be done to optimize, to give the private sector opportunity to come and invest and have incremental production in the oil sector, for example, in infrastructure, in agriculture, and of course the fiscal reforms. In a nutshell, we are, first of all, making sure that the macroeconomic distortions are removed. Secondly, reforming the tax regime to produce more revenue for government at all levels. Thirdly, implementation of digitization, automation, and even AI in terms of the financial management, the revenue areas of government. And that is all with the aim of crowding in the private sector. The Nigerian economy, having been distortions being removed, the economy being made relatively competitive, the answer, key infrastructure being put in place by governments at all levels, and we all know the trajectory of the states in particular. And I must say that the data does show that they are investing in capital expenditure, capital projects. But the overall aim is to draw in the private sector, give you that opportunity to take part in the domestic market and indeed the international market based on the new competitiveness that we have in the Nigerian production sector, manufacturing sector, and indeed industrial sector. So within government, we will, as we have been charged, translate summit outputs into a single time-bound matrix that aligns with the summit objectives. Sector-specific reform strategies, inputs to the National Medium-Term Development Plan, scalable subnational models, and strengthened private-public partnerships. Those are difficult to do, and it takes determination, resilience, and being willing to stay the course to come up with projects that are feasible with both the public and the private sector playing their effective roles. We will integrate the jobs and productivity insights that were launched here on day one with the agreed agenda priority: productivity, efficiency, popular and population governance, and job creation. And we must say, the world at which we are looking at now is one that lacks empathy, is one that is retreating from trade, is retreating from inclusiveness. And so our efforts at domestic resource mobilization, relying on our own resources, producing for the domestic market, finding export markets in ECOWAS under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement are where we need to go. The other thing that is happening around the world is that before people know it, they are slapped with import taxes. By God's grace, we will avoid all those. Amen? So Human capital remains the spine of the reform economy. The HCD dinner distilled a simple truth. People are the productivity engine. We'll back the NEC, the National Economic Council-led National HCD program, and the NESG, Private Sector Partnership Group, to align corporate investments, state-level compacts, and results based on financing so that health, education, and livelihoods can improve together and are being tracked on the national HCD scorecard. I will just emphasize that at the end of the day, the reforms must translate to better living standards. They must translate to lifting Nigerians out of poverty in their millions. That is the overall aim and objective, strategy, and policy of the renewed Hope Agenda. NESG strategic goals, dialogue, partnership, accountability, intervention, connection, are exactly what execution requires. We will lean into these roles to sustain consensus, solve bottlenecks, crowding capital, and publish evidence that keeps everyone honest between now and, by God's grace, NES32. A final commitment on behalf of the Honourable Minister for Budget and Economic Planning, who holds the pen on the relationship with the Nigerian Economic Summit Group and the federal government, and indeed the economic management team, which I have the honour to lead and chair. The journey to a prosperous and inclusive Nigeria will be won by cadence and credibility. The cadence of regular delivery updates and the credibility that comes from measurable results, from revealing data. So let us carry the discipline of this agenda: reforms, resilience, results. On behalf of the economic management team, I thank the federal government of Nigeria. I thank my colleagues on the economic team. I thank the NESG leadership, including, as I said, those who have the institutional memory and are committed to passing it on, to continuing to participate and contribute wherever they can. Also, our governors, our private sector CEOs, our development partners, civil society, not forgetting the moderators and the speakers who have, for 3 days, met deadlines and shuffled timetables. We have had a productive summit hosted here, as always, at the Transcorp Hilton, Abuja. Together, we leave not with communiques, but with commitments and a shared accountability to deliver. Thank you, and safe travels.
Saying goodbye with commitments, not only communiques. Our most sincere appreciation to you, Sir, Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister for the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun. Please once again appreciate him for the closing remarks delivered. Thank you, sir. And he now hands the baton over to the other man who represents the Honorable Minister for Budget and Economic Planning. He is the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, and he has a simple task: to deliver the vote of thanks. Please welcome Dr. Samson Bimaro as he makes his way to stage.
The Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, the Honorable Minister of State, Gas, Chairman, Nigerian Economic Summit Group, the co-chair of NESG31 and the Joint Planning Committee, members of the board of NSG, ambassadors and members of the diplomatic community, DG CEO, Nigerian Economic Summit Group, directors general and government agencies, chairman of chief executive of private sector organizations here present, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning and the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, I want to thank the Almighty God for making the 31st Nigerian Economic Summit Group initiative a huge success. In the last 3 days, Monday culminating today, we brought together people who have authority to say what matters in economic development, those who have experience to say how to implement economic transformation. We brought those who have skill, those who have historical memory of how nations become prosperous together. We have discussed. On this note, I want to congratulate all of you and thank you. In particular, our special appreciation goes to His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFRO, for his commitment and passion to the summit. I recall that Mr. President, since assumption of office, has been part of the journey, participating actively from 2023 to date. We are grateful to Your Excellency. We are also thankful to His Excellency, the Vice President, who represented the President, Kashim Shettima, GCON, for making our time to be here and delivering a paper on human capital and the attainment of food security as well. On Monday, the President demonstrated what I call enlightened self-interest. Enlightened self-interest when he made remarks about the disposition of government to the private sector. He said, standing at the middle of the podium, I speak not as a partisan, but a patriot. To be a patriot is to have character, is to have an attitude, which Hayatu-Deen has, recently referred to. Economic development, economic transformation requires an attitude and character. It is not just about policy. We need, especially for us Nigerians and those who are supporting us, to have this mental attitude, mental construct, to show that we need to implement our economy rigorously. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to extend our sincere appreciation to the leadership and members of the National Assembly, the judiciary and the state governors for participating actively during this 3 days event. Your commitment to this summit demonstrates the determination of government at all levels to work with the private sector to realize the country's development aspirations. We are very grateful to the honorable ministers, the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, chairman of the Civil Service Commission, permanent secretaries, and other senior officers of government, both at the federal and state levels, for their active participation in this summit. Also worthy of mention, our private sector partners who have worked round the clock to ensure the success of the summit. We appreciate you all. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to sincerely thank the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, His Excellency, distinguished Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, CON, for his commitment to the Nigerian Economic Summit. Your commitment to the summit has cemented government's belief in public-private sector partnership. We deeply appreciate you, sir. Let me also thank the chairman of the board of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, Mr. Niyi Yusuf, and all the board members for all your efforts. The board once more has shown commitment to this partnership. The Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy just referred to the issue of resort. And as a planning institution or ministry, we are very, very committed to talking about result, outcome, and impact. And it raises the question as to whether, if we have this meeting as a process, does process matter than result? It is something that the NSG group need to take out. If we have all the meetings, we have all the money, do we have the result? Do we have the impact? So it raises another question. Is a process more important than result? So it's something that we need to think about in managing our economy. Let me also thank the chairman of the board of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group for his inspiration in putting all this together. I equally want to express our appreciation to the Statistician General, Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, the Director Generals of the Center of Management Development, the Budget Office of the Federation, the Nigerian Institute of Social and Economic Research, and other DGs and heads of government agency for honoring us with their presence at this moment. We also like to appreciate in a very special way institutions, corporate organizations, and individuals that contributed financially and morally towards the success of this summit. We appreciate and cherish the generous contribution of our sponsors, including in-kind supporters, the MTN Nigeria, Stanbic IBTC, Sterling Bank, Flour Mills of Nigeria, First Bank of Nigeria, IHS Nigeria Limited, LNG, Share, MasterCard, RMB, Dangote Group, Nigerian Bottling Company, Red Star Express, Ibom Air, Lagos Business School, Nigeria Exchange Group, Verad Partners, Control Risk, and EY. Furthermore, let me appreciate our esteemed foreign guests, resource persons, chairmen, chairpersons of the different sessions, and panelists. We are grateful for your wealth of experience which enrich the discourse and the outcome of the summit. We especially thank the co-chairs, public and private sectors, and all members of the Joint Planning Committee and other officials that have worked assiduously in making this summit a resounding success. As they say in Nigerian parlance, well done, Dalo, Usedao, Dao, Sanu, Daiki. We also wish to express our sincere thanks to our friends in the media. Without you, this wouldn't have been a success. Congratulations. Finally, I will not fail to thank all of our most valued participants for attending this summit. I trust that we are going back more determined in our resolve to collaborate for the growth and economic stability of our dear country. Nigeria is already on the track. Among the 198 countries of the world, it seems we are like in an endless journey of 100 meters. We are already there, and we will succeed. I thank you all and wish us journey mercies back to to our various destinations. Thank you most sincerely.
Thank you for thanking us, sir. And we thank you very much for all your contribution and intervention. Immediately after this session, we would have a press conference, as has been told some of our leaders. But before we leave, we'd like to ask you all to come up here for a group photograph. The Honorable Minister, our PERMSEC, our Chairman NESG, the NESG Board, and the Board of the Advisory Board. The members here present, please, will ask you to come up for a group photograph as we capture the moment of this commitment that is beyond any communique that we will have. Thank you so much. Photographers, please, we will need you to help in the arrangement.
Yeah, you have to be in.